Hello there, welcome to another episode of Agenda 2030, a program designed to capture and critically examine Nigeria's efforts towards the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals known as the SDGs, as part of efforts to create awareness for environmental protection and ecological preservation. The United Nations declared June 5 every year as World Environmental Day, with the theme Beat Plastic Pollution. The 2018 edition is being hosted in India with participation from over 143 countries and seeks to achieve some of the goals of the SDGs. I am Toyin Kamyang John.
And I am Desmond Utorin. And we are glad to have you join us today, and we will be bringing to you a report from Nigeria's celebration of the World Environment Day, which held at the banquet hall of the Presidential Villa in Abuja, with the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibanjo, in attendance. But that will be after this break. Stay with us.
And in what has now appeared like a precursor to the Environment Day celebration, the Office of the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs joined the global community to mark the World Bicycle Day on the 3rd of June with the Senior Special Assistant to the President on SDGs, Princess Adejoke Orelope Adefulire, calling for the reduction in greenhouse gas emission. The event was also to raise awareness on how greater use of bicycles as a means of transportation can facilitate sustainable development.
On April 12, 2018, during the 72nd regular session of the United Nations General Assembly in New York City, the United Nations passed a resolution declaring June 3rd every year as International World Bicycle Day. The resolution was adopted by a consensus of 193 member states. The declaration invited all member states and relevant stakeholders to celebrate and promote awareness of the World Bicycle Day, encouraging member states to devote particular attention to the bicycle in cross-cutting development strategies and to include the bicycle in international, regional, national and subnational development policies and programs, celebrating the bicycle as a simple, affordable, reliable, clean and environmentally fit mode of transportation. Organizers of this year's event say the bicycle is not only a symbol of sustainable means of transportation, but can also facilitate access to education, healthcare and sports, which of course also brings many health benefits. Okay. The Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Princess Adejoke Orelope Adefulire, who was represented by the Deputy Director, Administration in the Federal Government SDGs Office, Mrs. I.C. Ukwa Ejiofor, reiterated the commitment of the office to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals in Nigeria. The Chief Executive of DAPA Exclusive Style, Femi Akanji, stated that apart from raising awareness for the goals, cycling as a sport is capable of creating jobs, improving health of individuals, and can contribute to eradication of poverty in the country. The highlight of the event was the raffle draw, which afforded the participants the opportunity to win various cycling kits.
We are glad to have you. Like we promised you, we will serve you a full dose of the celebration of the World Environment Day celebration in Nigeria. We will kick off this segment with a special report on the theme of the day and followed by highlights from the event.
And for the curtain raiser, let's join the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres for his remark on the special day.
A healthy planet is essential for a prosperous and peaceful future. We all have a role to play in protecting our only home. But it can be difficult to know what to do or where to start, and that is why this World Environment Day has just one request: beat plastic pollution. Our world is swamped by harmful plastic waste. Every year, more than 8 million tons end up in the oceans. Microplastics in the seas now outnumber stars in our galaxy. From remote islands to the Arctic, nowhere is untouched. If present trends continue, by 2050, our oceans will have more plastic than fish. On World Environment Day, the message is simple: reject single-use plastic. Refuse what you can't reuse. Together we can chart a path to a cleaner, greener world.
Every year, 500 billion plastic bags are used around the world. 13 million tons of plastic leak into the ocean. 17 million barrels of oil are used on plastic production. 100,000 marine animals are killed by plastic, and 83% of tap water are found to contain plastic particles. This is alarming and dangerous to the environment. In particular, its impact in the ocean, which is the lungs of our planet, providing most of the oxygen we breathe, major source of food and medicine, and a critical part of the biosphere. Reports by United Nations Environment have shown that man throws away enough plastic to circle the earth 4 times every year. Much of that waste doesn't make it into a landfill, but instead ends up in our oceans, where it's responsible for killing 1 million seabirds and 100,000 marine mammals every year, and it can persist for up to 1,000 years before it fully disintegrates. It is believed that dependability on disposable plastic poses huge threats to the ecosystem and the environment. Recent studies have shown that over 1 million plastic drinking bottles are purchased every minute, with nearly 1/3 of the waste clogging city streets, leaking into water bodies, and thus consumed by humans, thereby affecting health and well-being. In response to this challenge, the United Nations in 1972 declared June 5th every year as World Environment Day in a bid to raise awareness for environmental protection and ecological preservation. The celebration this year focuses on beating plastic pollution. The idea of focusing on plastic pollution stems from the need to improve the society, hence transforming plastic into a resource. As such, develop a unique economy around plastic waste, which degrades the environment. The global event, which seeks to achieve relevant goals of the SDGs, was held in India with participation from over 143 countries. In her statement to mark the day, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Sustainable Development Goals, Princess Adejoke Orelope Adefulure, called on stakeholders to support the drive to beat the unending pollution caused by inappropriate disposal of plastic materials. Princess Orelope Adefulire gave the charge in a statement issued by her media assistant Desmond Utame, insisting that plastic pollution has become an epidemic in our society and indeed across the world. She aligned with reports by United Nations Environment that it's time to rethink how we use plastic for the good of the planet, maintaining that there is need for the public to help beat plastic pollution by switching to materials that are easily reusable and alternative to plastic. As the planet continues to grow relentlessly in population, a corresponding growth in waste products also occurs. Although the society has an etiquette that separates waste products from the immediate living environment, the waste, however, creates huge environmental problems and impacts the entire planet. To beat this, Princess Orelope Adefulire advocated for continuous recycling as a method to deal responsibly with the plastic problem. The goal of recycling is to separate waste products into 2 major categories, biodegradable and non-biodegradable, with plastic constituting a larger part of the non-biodegradable waste component. Beat Plastic Pollution is a call to action for everyone to come together to combat one of the great environmental challenges of our time. It also invites all to consider how they can make changes in their everyday lives to reduce the heavy burden of plastic pollution on the environment, wildlife, and the health of the people. While plastic has many valuable uses, people have become over-reliant on single-use or disposable plastic, with severe environmental consequences. Every year, up to 5 trillion disposable plastic bags are used, with 50% of the total plastic in single-use.
It is a special pleasure to celebrate the World Environment Day 2018 here in Nigeria, even as we join the rest of the world on this special day. In one of its most inspired moments, the United Nations decided to set aside June 5th annually for reflection on the environmental state of the earth, this place where we live, where our forebears have lived, and where we intend that our descendants will live. The last few decades have shown that on account of damage to the environment, there are no guarantees that we can hand over a livable place to generations after us. That reality unfolds daily as we observe the consequences of climate change and the environmental abuses that cause it. This year, we're invited to reflect on what to do with plastic pollution, an environmental epidemic created daily, relentlessly, by consumption habits that favor the one-off use of plastics, plastic bags, plastic bottles, disposable cups, sweet wrappers, and toys, most of which we're already told will take between 500 to 1,000 years to degrade. Current researches also show that plastics that have not been burnt or recycled could be in excess of 4.5 billion tons. Much of that has ended up in the oceans, becoming almost impossible to retrieve. Worse still, salt and sunlight cause plastics to break into smaller pieces, microplastics, which end up being eaten by fish and other marine creatures. And this may even find their way into our meals. The cost to fisheries, to tourism, and biodiversity is significant. On our part, as the federal government of Nigeria, we've tried to remain ahead of the curve in planning, in policy, and reform. The Ministry of Environment, in collaboration with critical stakeholders, have developed a national strategy for the phasing out of non-biodegradable plastics. The ministry is also developing a national plastic waste recycling program involving the establishment of plastic waste recycling plants across the country in partnership with state governments. A total of 8 plants have already been completed and handed over to the states, while 18 others are at various stages of completion. In addition, the federal government is also collaborating with state governments to establish plastic waste recycling plants under the community-based waste management program in the ministry. 2 plants have been completed in Ilorin, Kwara State, 1 in Lokoja, Kogi State, while work is going on the one in Karo local government area of Nasarawa State. In addition, there are 2 privately run programs. There are Bola Jari, which roughly means waste to wealth, in Gombe State, and the Leda Jari, which roughly means converting nylon bags to wealth in Kano State. These initiatives, of course, are also encouraged and supported by government. But there are, of course, questions about the limited options for cheap packaging of food and drinks, especially where consumers are relatively poor. Micro-marketing methods of fast-moving consumer goods, such as drinking water in sachets, otherwise known as pure water, and the retailing of detergents, sugar, and even milk in sachets have proved to be an effective means of selling these food and beverages in affordable portions to millions of consumers. So sale of items in cellophane bags may be easier to deal with. So Rwanda, Kenya, Bangladesh, amongst others, have banned the use of cellophane bags with considerable success. It's my view that for controlling the proliferation of plastic sachets, we must go back to the major producers of fast-moving goods to put in place recycling programs that could effectively ensure that while we seek environmentally friendly options for packaging, we are keeping the environment as free of plastics as possible. Coca-Cola has committed to collecting and recycling the equivalent of all drink containers it ships every year. And this includes about 110 billion plastic bottles. Consumer goods giants such as Unilever and Procter & Gamble have also begun to use more recycled plastics. We expect that these consumer giants will make and fulfill these same pledges here in Nigeria, and also partner with governments, including the state and local governments, to ensure that we maintain the critical balance between economic growth and a safe and livable environment. Nigeria is in a good place to lead Africa, and indeed the world, in beating plastic pollution. There's no need to reinvent the wheel. There are a good number of effective initiatives already that we're considering as we develop policies. As our environmental expert, Mrs. Olakiton Olaguyi, said, aside from the responsibilities of government, there are also corporate and individual responsibilities. We can beat the plastics pollution. We can beat plastics pollution. We can beat this epidemic, but we certainly will achieve our objectives much faster if we all work together.
We have with us the Honorable Minister of Environment and his Permanent Secretary here with us on set today. Honorable Minister, sir, you have an awesome event today to mark the World Environment Day with a theme, Beat Plastic Pollution. What would you say has been the experience of Nigeria in terms of beating plastic pollution, which has been a major problem already?
Well, this has been going on as a low-key activity, mostly driven by private sector who are motivated sometimes by profit motive, and then there are some environmentalists also who are passionate about this. But the bottom line is that today, with the coming of the Vice President to be the special guest of honor and to deliver a keynote, it shows you the level we have taken this issue of plastic pollution to in this country. So we are happy, particularly for the Vice President to be with us today. It sends a strong signal to the entire country that the government is committed about environmental issues. You must have to address environmental issues anywhere they are found, because if you don't address environmental issues, at the end of the day, they may become health-related issues. If you live in a dirty environment, it leads to certain diseases, certain infectious diseases, and you must be careful. If you address environmental issues on time, chances are that you are going to save more than if you allow it to degenerate. At the end of the day, the bill medically will be astronomical, and this country cannot afford that luxury. So we are calling on fellow Nigerians to wake up and realize that there are pollutions everywhere, but plastic pollution is a big problem. It does not degrade, therefore it can stay for ages in the soil, in the water, and you've heard the statistics during today's event. We must take care of our environment. We must adopt a strategy to address the plastic pollution problem. A lot of people will be talking and agitating about banning plastic. Some other countries have done it fine, but we must find a suitable alternative. Before even finding a suitable alternative, you have to sensitize people. You have to do a lot of advocacy, and I think that's why this your TV program comes in, to help us in sensitizing people to know that there is a problem. People must understand that there is a challenge before they can address it. Once we sensitize people and they get to know the consequences of this plastic pollution, then you begin to put measures in place to regulate the use, and at the end of the day, the ultimate will be to ban. But you cannot ban now when you don't have a suitable replacement. So we must work towards sensitizing people. We must work towards getting a suitable alternative to the use of plastic. And for now, we can be talking about recycling and reuse, so that we have to forget about the single use that is just use and dump. We must orient people towards knowing that they can recycle, they can reuse, and then at the end of the day, as we move on, we can be able to get to a stage where we can say, look, we're done with this, we may no longer need it again. Then we can put the machinery in place to keep it aside. We must have to tell people what it is, why it is the way it is, and how to get rid of it in the long run. Then you have to talk about reuse, and then get even the producers. I've just been told that Coca-Cola has a recycling plant in Mile 2 in Lagos, and I'm going to, by the grace of God, visit that place to see what they're doing, so that we can give them more encouragement to do this. This is part of the extended producer responsibility. They not only take care of what they produce, but they have to see to the end of it, so that if you go to other parts of the world, you see people encouraging people to bring back what they have used. You might buy a drink, and they will ask you to bring 5 bottles, and you get 1 liquid content. And that, because of that little incentive, it makes people to try to gather as much as they can, because at the end of the day, they know they're going to get something for free. So these are part of the strategies that other parts of the world, and which we can use it also in this country. If you encourage them to come, drop 5 and get 1, even if it is drop 2 and get 1, they will bring it, and you will see how people will be competing.
Incentivizing.
Okay, so in line with that, do you think there's need for establishment of more collecting centers.
But this is not something that the Federal Minister of Environment will want to do it alone. Don't forget, environment sector is in the concurrent list of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, meaning that state ministries of environment have a responsibility also. It's not like defense or foreign affairs where only the federal government is responsible. Yeah, but this one is concurrent. So like we have the Federal Ministry of Environment, we also have State Ministry of Environment, and we're collaborating with them to make sure that they key into what we're doing, because they are farther down the grassroots and they can do it sometimes even more effectively if they are really determined and they get the necessary encouragement. So we are partnering with them. We have the Eco Hub, which is a website that we link with the State Ministries of Environment to key into what we're doing, and we make sure we always give the information about what is happening at the federal level so that it can permeate down to the grassroots.
Well, talking about carrying the subnational government along now, I wouldn't know if you already have maybe a national framework to this effect that is documented, or if you are working towards one in the very near future.
One of the easiest things we do is during the National Council on Environment. The council comprises of all the states, ministers of environment, and their commissioners. They are part of the council, and we meet every year. And then memos are brought from all over the country, in all the states of the federation, including the FCT. And there are memos from even individuals or other organizations that care about the environment. These memos are considered at the council level, and decisions taken are normally passed for implementation. Sometimes the decision can even go to the Federal Executive Council to give it proper backing and support. So apart from this, there are other projects that are going in different parts of like the NUMA program is covering 19 states. That's an avenue of meeting with 19 state commissioners of environment. You have the National Agency for the Great Green Wall, which covers about 11 states. That's also another avenue for meeting with commissioners for environment. And therefore, along the line, you see overlap. There are some states that are having the project of NUMA and also in the Great Green Wall. So you see they have the best of two worlds. And then there are other areas of collaborations. The Department of the Desertification handles issues in the drier part of the country. Pollution Control Department handles issues across the country, waste management, refuse collection, and so on and so forth. This is a nationwide program, and this is an avenue for us to link up with the state government and make sure that they key into what we are doing so that together we can move the environment sector forward and get a better and cleaner environment.
You spoke about the Ogoni land cleanup today. You also mentioned the green bond, which has been on ground for quite some time now, running to 2 years or thereabouts. Most Nigerians have been waiting. How soon do we have good results in this respect?
The green bond cannot be said to be on for 2 years now. The green bond was launched in December last year, so it's just about 6 months now. But the proceeds we have already getting it, and we're working on a forestation program. The idea is to increase the forest cover and reduce emission. They're going to clean up, as you heard. We are at the tendering stage now. Procurement is ongoing, and we've given a target. And I believe before the end of this year, there will be a lot of activities for people to see. In my speech, I did mention that we had about 400 contractors in and out of the country. We have gotten about 150 something pre-qualified now, and the tendering process is still ongoing. As soon as the technical evaluation is now completed, we'll ask those who are pre-qualified to tender financials, and then the process will go on until we get to the Federal Executive Council for approval and subsequent mobilization of contractor to site to start the cleanup. We have a timetable. We do not expect to go beyond August, September to get this thing started.
I know finance is a major problem in tackling environmental problems. How would you say that we are financially ready to, or do we have sufficient funds? Of course, it's never always enough, but how would you say we are financially ready to address some of this issue in terms of providing for the financial requirements?
Financially, we are saying that the Ministry of Environment or Environment, not much is being given to the ministry to face all these challenges. However, because of the competing demands in the country and the depleting resources we have, especially from oil, so government have to prioritize funding. So the funding that comes to environment is not sufficient, but addresses what the challenges we are facing, the most priority challenges that we are facing in the ministry. So we hope that as the oil continue to rise, government will increase the funding to the Ministry of Environment so that we can face the challenges that we are facing.
What progress have you made so far as per the budget you have already?
In 2017, the capital budget of the ministry is about 4 billion to address ecological problems, to address waste management problems. So these resources have been distributed to all these subsectors, whereby in the face of ecological problems, we have addresses about more than 100 sites in the country. Waste management, we have trying to establish some waste management recycling plants in the country. We are just establishing one in local government here. There are others that we are completing in the country. So we are expecting in 2018 again to have some funds that we can continue to address the challenges.
Hi, you're watching Agenda 2030. It's World Environment Day. The theme for this year is Beat Plastic Pollution and a call to action to love your environment. Keep your environment clean, healthy and greener. For a clean environment makes a healthy economy.
And that's our package. Thank you very much for being part of the program. And as usual, you can always watch this program and other episodes by subscribing to our other channels on youtube.com/fresh news and youtube.com/agenda 2030 TV. You can also watch this program live on Facebook. Just log on to www.facebook.com/fresh news ng and www.facebook.com/agenda 2030 TV. Do follow us on all our social media platforms at Agenda 2030 TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Remember to drop your comments and share with your contacts. Do use the hashtag Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2030 TV. I am Toyin Nkamiang John.
And I am Desmond Toran. We'll see you again next week. And until then,
bye.